There are so many movies being released on a weekly basis these days that it's absolutely impossible to keep track of everything, such that great movies and great performances can easily end up falling through the cracks. The sheer wealth of options available on streaming platforms makes it incredibly easy for an actor's best work to be slept on, whereby only the most committed fans have a hope in hell of discovering it. So with that in mind then, I'm Ellie with What Culture, and here are 10 more actors who gave their best performances in movies nobody saw. Number 10. Vince Vaughn in Brawl in Cell Block 99. Vince Vaughn probably isn't who most people picture when they think of a great actor, but he's given a bevy of hilarious comedic performances in the likes of Swingers, Old School, Dodgeball and Wedding Crashers, and in the dramatic stakes has acquitted himself well in Hacksaw Ridge and True Detective's second season. But far and away, Vaughn's best work to date is in S. Craig Zahler's brutal 2017 prison thriller Brawl in Cell Block 99. As imprisoned drug runner Bradley Thomas, Vaughn is like you've never seen him before, a bald-headed, stone-faced pillar of granite who must fight to save his wife and unborn child on the outside before it's too late. Vaughn isn't an actor who cuts a naturally intimidating figure, yet director Zahler clearly saw something in him that nobody else did, because his mere physical presence throughout this ferocious, graphically violent film is deeply imposing. Vaughn underplays the part perfectly, giving a richly internalized performance as a man stewing in his own rage while desperately trying to free his family from a helpless situation. Yet despite Vaughn receiving rave reviews for his performance, Brawl grossed just $79,208 on limited release at the box office before more or less fading into the abyss of streaming. Number 9. Scarlett Johansson in Under the Skin. Scarlett Johansson has amassed an impressive body of work over the last 2 or so decades. But her most impressive and truly transformative performance was in a much smaller niche project, which couldn't have seemed much more off-putting to both mainstream audiences and Oscar voters. Jonathan Glazer's sci-fi masterpiece Under the Skin stars Johansson as an unnamed man-devouring alien creature inexplicably traipsing around Scotland while donning the guise of a beautiful human woman. Despite being produced for a svelte $13.3 million and the press constantly hyping up Johansson's nudity in the film, Under the Skin failed to make much of a dent with audiences, grossing just $7.3 million globally. Number 8. Michael Shannon in Take Shelter. Michael Shannon is undeniably one of the greatest actors working today. Yet Shannon's finest work to date was in a film that many expected him to receive a Best Actor Oscar nomination for, Jeff Nichols' dizzying psychological thriller Take Shelter. Shannon stars as Curtis LaForge, a man who begins experiencing apocalyptic visions and must decide whether to protect his family from the apparently incoming destruction or from himself. It's always deeply satisfying to see a card-carrying supporting actor get their own hefty leading role, and Shannon grabs the part with both hands, delivering an astonishing performance that's alternately sympathetic and terrifying. There's a deep vein of aching humanity running through Shannon's work here, and that his performance somehow didn't receive Oscar recognition over some of the lesser turns in contention that year remains an utter travesty. Number 7. Michael Fassbender in Hunger. Though his acting career hasn't been up to much the last 5 years, Michael Fassbender is nevertheless one of the finest performers of his generation, as evidenced by his strong work in Fish Tank, Inglourious Basterds, Shame, the X-Men and Alien films, yet Fassbender's best work to date occurred before any of these films were released, in Steve McQueen's expertly crafted 2008 historical drama Hunger. In the film, Fassbender plays IRA member Bobby Sands, who leads a hunger strike in prison which ultimately claims his life. In what would become the first of 3 collaborations between Fassbender and McQueen so far, Fassbender gives an astonishing physical and emotional performance, losing a concerning amount of weight while getting audiences firmly into Sands' mindset. Aided by wonderfully stripped-back direction from McQueen, this is a singular examination of a devastating act of political defiance, and one surely best remembered for the jaw-dropping 17-minute single take in which a priest attempts to talk Sands out of his hunger strike. Though Hunger received rave reviews and snagged Fassbender the British Independent Film Award for Best Actor, it barely cracked $3 million worldwide, and so any Oscar buzz for Fassbender consequently went up in smoke. Number 6. Jennifer Aniston in Cake. Jennifer Aniston will of course forever be remembered for playing Rachel Green on Friends, but she's also given many acclaimed performances on the big screen, whether in comedies like Office Space, Horrible Bosses and We're the Millers, or dramas such as The Good Girl, Friends with Money and Dumplin'. Yet Aniston's finest effort to date flew totally under the radar back in 2014, when she starred in Cake, playing Claire Bennett, a woman addicted to both alcohol and pain meds following a car accident which claimed the life of her son. Though general critical response to the film was mixed, Aniston's performance received rave reviews from many outlets and even Best Actress nominations from both the Golden Globes and Screen Actors Guild. For many, it was so hugely refreshing to see Aniston commit this hard to such an unvarnished, unflattering role of a woman hobbled by guilt, anger and the throes of addiction. It's a performance like nothing Aniston has ever done prior or since. Yet despite a ton of Oscar buzz for her work, which ultimately didn't pan out, Cake bombed at the box office, grossing less than $3 million worldwide against a $10 million budget. Number 5. Hayden Christensen in Shattered Glass. Poor Hayden Christensen. Appearing in the latter 2 Star Wars prequels might be both the best and worst thing that's ever happened to him, convincing an entire generation of fans that, to be blunt, he can't act. Though Christensen doesn't exactly have a bevy of quality roles to his name, there is one which confirms him to be a shockingly underappreciated performer when cast in the right role. In between the 2 Star Wars prequels, Christensen starred in Shattered Glass, a low-budget drama where he played disgraced journalist Stephen Glass, who, while writing for the New Republic, falsified the majority of his news stories. Christensen's performance as the elusive, cagey journalist whose life and career slowly unravel is nothing short of terrific, and yet is largely unknown among those who freely dismiss him as a terrible actor. Number 4. Aubrey Plaza in Black Bear. While undeniably being best known for her brilliant work as April Ludgate on Parks and Recreation, Aubrey Plaza has rather quietly built up an enviable filmography of quality roles in dramedies in more recent years. Plaza received vocal rave reviews for her sublime performance in the 2020 blackly comedic dramatic thriller Black Bear, a difficult to categorize but utterly mesmeric film built almost entirely around Plaza's incredible work. This is certainly a movie best watched without knowing the finer particulars, but Plaza stars as a filmmaker suffering from creative block who heads to a quiet rural retreat in the hope of entangling her mind, only to do quite the opposite. Its tricky central conceit won't work for everyone, but even if Black Bear isn't fully for you, Plaza's sheer magnetism in the lead role, launching between poles of depression, sardonic humour and outright terror, is a treat that needs to be seen. Number 3. Arnold Schwarzenegger in Maggie. Arnold Schwarzenegger is as larger-than-life as actors get, and though it's basically impossible to imagine anyone else playing the part of the Terminator, few would go so far as to call him a genuinely great actor. An Arnie-led zombie film doesn't sound like the most unnatural of moves for Schwarzenegger, but Maggie is no normal undead horror romp. This is more a post-apocalyptic drama than anything, with Arnie portraying Wade, a father who must come to terms with his daughter's transformation into a zombie. This is more than anything else Arnie like you've never seen him before, a vulnerable, hurting man pulled between knowing what he needs to do and the love for his daughter. It's as subtle a performance as Arnie has ever given, and while the film itself isn't doing too much new for the genre, seeing the actor in this more dialed-down mode, lending shocking dramatic nuance to Wade, is a sure sight to behold. It's a shame that Maggie didn't do much business either theatrically or on VOD though, as we've seen few similar attempts from Schwarzenegger in the years since. Number 2. Vin Diesel in Find Me Guilty. Much like Arnold, Vin Diesel isn't an actor many would look to when casting a subtle or complex character. And though Diesel's filmography is almost entirely comprised of brutish action heroes, he quietly proved himself capable of much more in 2006's courtroom dramedy Find Me Guilty. Written and directed by the late legendary Sidney Lumet, the film is a biopic of New Jersey mobster Jackie DiNorsio, who, while on trial for racketeering charges, decides to defend himself and against Titanic odds successfully beats the rap. The idea of casting Diesel in the role of a man who charmed the pants off a jury doesn't seem to fit, and yet he gives a genuinely believable performance as the infectiously likable mobster without transforming him into a total caricature. Diesel certainly had everything working in his favour, with Lumet in the director's chair and Peter Dinklage playing opposite him as the lead defence lawyer. But credit where it's due, Diesel completely defied expectations enough to make you wonder why he hasn't done more of this since. The answer may ultimately lie in the fact that Find Me Guilty was a colossal box office bomb, grossing just $2.6 million against a $13 million budget. Number 1. Elizabeth Moss in Shirley. Elizabeth Moss has near countless brilliant performances to her name, but the best of the lot? Moss's performance as eccentric novelist Shirley Jackson in Josephine Decker's hypnotic 2020 biopic, Shirley. Focused on Jackson while she was writing her 1951 novel Hangs a Man, this may only be a mere snapshot of her life, but Moss provides such a tenacious window into the woman as both mentally ill and creative genius, that we come to feel like we truly know her essence by film's end. More than any other film Moss has made, this gives her the freedom to swing and swing hard, untethered by the expected bounds of a formal biopic, director Decker taking a step back and opting for a more surreal, dreamlike filmmaking style. At least unlike Diesel, Moss seems quite content working on these smaller, less restrictive indie projects, even if it'll take some serious doing to top her work in this film.